What's up, meta nerds? This video is all about the simply named stealth ship used by the Republic during the Clone Wars. It was developed by Sinar Design Systems, a subsidiary of Republic Sinar Systems, the people that developed the Star Courier, aka the Sith Infiltrator. Darth Sidious himself secretly commissioned Wraith Sinar, who was instructed to ensure this project's secrecy. This ship would be gifted to Darth Maul, who named it the Scimitar, and Sinar's company would be integrally tied to the Empire from then on out. It would later change its name to Sinar Fleet Systems, and provide Sidious with a fleet of countless TIE fighters. Just a few years after the stealth ship was produced, the Republic Senate actually forced Sinar Design Systems to shut down after innumerable account and facility irregulations were discovered. This may in part explain why the project was not continued. But let's take a look at the stealth ship to see where everything was and how it all worked. The cockpit was up here, with the front of this ship coming to this sharp point. It had a unique looking split design window, and if we take a look inside of the cockpit, we can see that a steep ramp leads up to the seats for the pilot and co-pilot. This area is adorned with tons of buttons and data screens, as well as having a holo transmitter located right on the dash. If we look down the length of this ship, we can see that it was streamlined for cargo delivery. Essentially a perfect blockade breaker, as its stealth measures allowed it to get past even the largest blockade fleets without a fight, and deliver a massive amount of goods. It is even designed for rapid dispersion of cargo, as you can see in this shot that at least multiple side panels, if not all of them, can be lifted and extend ramps so that your forces on-world can quickly take cargo off. That may be part of why it has this long pencil shape, instead of looking like a bulky freighter, as if you only had one main cargo door, you would have people bottling up or having to form a chain, instead of just running up to the sides. The stealth ship had a 10-man crew, who sat at data stations which collected info from the 2 radar dishes, and a vast array of other sensing equipment that would warn the operators if they were leaving any detectable signature. The cloaking itself was achieved via the arrays of these brown-colored devices, which number 4 on each section for a total of 28. You can think of these as working a bit like shield projectors, but instead of blocking materials from passing through a protective layer, it instead lets everything easily pass through, allowing even light itself to pass through the ship without bouncing off. We only see things because light reflects off of objects and back into our eyes, so if the light passes through the ship, then we don't see it. As heat in the form of thermal radiation, radio signals used in radar, and visible light are all just parts on an electromagnetic spectrum, then it makes sense that if you can find a way to negate something's electromagnetic output, then it becomes effectively undetectable. Now of course, it is a bit all hand-wavy, and if you want an amazing breakdown of the real problems with stealth in space, I highly suggest you watch Isaac Arthur's video, Space Warfare, that explains why at least in our universe, stealth in space is just about impossible. But moving towards the aft, we see that it has 4 thrusters, 2 main, and 2 auxiliary. For offense, it packs 2 proton torpedo launchers, located up front here, with an unknown maximum torpedo capacity, a point defense laser cannon turret manned by a clone trooper, and for countermeasures, a very handy set of 4 flare launchers. You don't see this a lot on Star Wars ships, but those flares are especially important on a stealth ship, as it buys you time to let one volley of missiles to track those flares, while your cloaking tech goes through its 10-second startup time. By combining these features, Anakin was able to decloak, fire its torpedoes, and if fired on, launch those flares to eat up the enemy attack, and get that cloak generating while you relocated before the second enemy volley. If we look at the overall length of this ship, we see that it is 99.71 meters, or 327 feet long. This makes it about a third of the length of the Providence-class light cruiser, and more than 3 times the length of the LAAT gunship. And at a height of 13 meters, or 43 feet tall, it was about 2 Wookiees taller than the ATTE. Now before I talk about its brief history, I do want to do a bit of speculating on the purpose behind those clone troopers' strange helmets. They are Stealth Ops clone troopers, which comes with a difference in paint color, but what looks really odd are those Princess Leia buns on the side of their head. It caught my eye that they look a lot like the same shape of the cloaking projectors on the ship itself. Just as the ship has a panel on each side, these troops have one on each side of their helmet. It may just help to work with the ship to cloak their own presence while sitting inside of it, but I was thinking it may mean that these troops can go invisible. We know personal cloaking devices are a thing, individual assassins like Rook had one, so it is reasonable to think that a Republic military that could make a stealth ship could also provide these elite stealth op troops with their own cloaking devices. I really hope that's true, as the badassery of that would offset the otherwise silly appearance. As for its history, it made its first battlefield appearance over Christophsis, a CIS fleet involving several Lucrehulks, Providence-class dreadnoughts, and regular-sized Providence-class carrier destroyers, was starving the population of this Outer Rim world. Skywalker was tasked with using this prototype to deliver aid to Senator Bail Organa, but he knew Admiral Trench had to be addressed. The infamous CIS strategist reveals that he had fought against stealth ships in the past, but Republic intelligence points out that they were all capital ships, and having a cloaking device on such a small ship was almost unheard of. Anakin deduces that the only thing that could still be detectable would be his magnetic signature, and of course devises a dangerous plan of attack. When Admiral Trench fires his tracking torpedoes, Anakin is able to bring the stealth ship around towards the dreadnought while it is recharging its shields. Anakin skids the stealth ship off of the ironically named Invincible, which was unable to get those shields up, and took these massive torpedoes to its bridge. It should be pointed out that Trench did not die here, but that is a story for another day. So that's it for its history, but you definitely want to hear these cool facts and behind the scenes stuff. The stealth ship is based on a submarine, with everything from its elongated design to its sonar blip screens and the accompanying iconic sounds. And the episode Cat and Mouse was inspired by movies like Das Boot and The Hunt for Red October. That being said, I still disagree that this is the Star Wars equivalent of a submarine. The episode is great and I love the submarine reference, but if you watched our video asking why there are no submarines in Star Wars and how that could work, then you know that I pointed out that a sub's relationship to other ships and planes is fundamentally different than the relationship that all air-dwelling ships and planes have to each other. A plane can just crash into a ship because they are in the same medium, namely the air, but can't crash into a submarine because of the difference in the medium in which it is in. In Star Wars, for this comparison, hyperspace's relationship to real space is more like the difference between air-dwelling and sea-dwelling ships. This is why I think of the stealth ship as better compared to a stealth plane, like if a B-2 bomber could also become invisible not just to radar, but invisible to our eyes as well. In the show, they worry about CIS ships accidentally crashing into the stealth ship. It's not in a different area exclusive to the stealth ship, like how a submarine is in a different space to all other non-submarines. The Star Wars stealth ship is just like every other ship, it's just that it can go invisible. And this battle takes place in the year 21 BBY, and it's cool to note that this is the first time that Anakin and Yularen work together, a relationship that would span the next couple of decades. So that's it for the stealth ship. If you want to connect with us, help support this channel, or get your own copies of some Vehicles and Vessels books, be sure to check out the links in the description. Special shout out to our supporters over on Patreon, but more important than all that, remember, never underestimate a Skywalker, and the Force will be with you, always.